me, Vicki Marie. And yes, first thing I'd like to say, as the banner says, thank you so much for being here with me. For those of you who don't know me, you might be watching my channel for the first time. My name's Vicki, Vicki Marie, and I make videos about true crime or anything that I think people find interesting, anything I find interesting. And this video, we're concentrating on the very sad case of Mica Francis. You may know her as Mica Miller, but we like to say Francis because don't really like to associate her with the surname Miller, because that's the name of her ex-husband. Well, not even her ex-husband, her estranged husband, let's say, that there's so much controversy about. Oh, sorry, I was saying thank you. Let me carry on saying thank you. So, yeah, I'd like to thank all my subscribers, everyone who watches my videos, especially my members, anyone who likes my videos, and anyone who has contributed to my channel in any way. Some people have bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a super chat, or PayPal'd me. Thank you so much for helping to support my channel. Okay, now, so I'm going to, first of all, as you know, I always light a candle at the beginning of each video. If I forget the beginning, I light it during the video. And today's candle, of course, is for Mica, justice for Mica. So, Mica Francis was found deceased, seemingly from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in a national park in the Lumber River. But her family and a lot of people who know her and a lot of people who didn't know her, including myself and probably most of my subscribers, are not happy with this presumption that it was self-inflicted gunshot wound and that nobody else was involved. In my own personal opinion, I think that whatever happened to Mica, or whatever reason that led to her death that day, whether it was her who pulled the trigger or not, I think her husband, or her estranged husband, John Paul Miller, had a lot to do with it. There are different ways of killing someone, not just pulling the trigger yourself, making someone's life so much a misery, you know, because he was stalking her, he was hounding her, he'd put pictures of her, you know, compromising pictures of her on social media, he'd threatened her with all sorts. And, you know, and this had been going on for over 2 years. And we see that testimony from Mica herself on her own Facebook account, you know, that she was abused, coercive control. In her own words, she was abused in every way that you could possibly be abused. So whether Mr. J.P. Miller, who is a pastor, supposedly, whether he actually had anything directly to do with Mica's death in that sense of actually doing it to her, murdering her, one way or another, he contributed to her death, didn't he? That's the opinion we've all got, and it'd be difficult to shake off that opinion. So this candle is for Mica. Justice for Mica, that one way or another. The thing is, when we say justice for Mica, we can't bring her back. You know, Mica is a light that's gone out in the world. And, you know, from what we've seen of her, she was a lovely person, a gentle spirit. You know, the world needs more people like Mica, not less people like Mica. And unfortunately, Mica's not coming back to this world, but hopefully she's at peace in the next world. You know, her faith, her faith was very strong, and I hope she's at peace now where she belongs. But the thing is, yeah, so she's not coming back. We can't bring her back. But what we want, I suppose, or what her family want, and I think what all we want, is that John Paul should somehow be held, you know, accountable for the way he treated her. You know, people can't get away with this horrible sort of way of treating women or men. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a man treating a woman in that way or a woman treating a man. You know, it's not fair to treat people in the way that Mica was treated. Anyway. Now, first thing I'd like to say is I know for a fact that sometimes members of Mica's family do watch my videos. So I know that, and I just wanted to say, I wondered if we could all light a candle for Mica on the chat, if you could all put your candles up, because I'd like, you know, I'm sure they know by now if they've watched a couple of my videos that we're all in support of Mica. I'm going to put some candles up. Oh, where's my emojis? There they are. So, because, and the other thing I wanted to say to them, if they are watching this particular video, thank you. Yeah, so all put our candles up for Mica just to show her family if they are watching this particular video. I know they've watched other videos, to, you know, just to show our support. And the other thing I just wanted to ask is I was going to show the GoFundMe for the family, but when I went on like Google to find the GoFundMe, there seems to be loads of different GoFundMes, and I'm a bit wary. I don't know which one is the genuine one. You know, there's quite a few different GoFundMes. I don't know if it's this one by Ryan Williams or, you know, so I don't know. So what I would ask, if any of the family are watching or anybody who knows which is the genuine one, which is the one that goes directly to the family, to let me know, because then I will share that at some point in a post, and then people can have a look at it and decide if they want to donate. So that was something I wanted to say. I'm going to just put my my email up. They can email the link to me or put it in the they can put a comment or whatever to give me the link. But my email is this. At Gmail. But if not, they can put the link in the comments section, just so I know which is the GoFundMe that is the relevant one, you know, for the family, because there just seem to be a few there and I don't want to give the wrong one out. So that's that. And then the other thing I wanted to say before I say hello to everyone and start the video proper is a thank you to Justin from TikTok, because this interview that we're going to look at, where Mica's sisters speak out, it was an interview with Justin on TikTok. It was a response. We watched the shorter video that Justin, the interview, the surprise interview with John Paul Miller, who came on his TikTok or on his YouTube. We watched that, and now this is a response that Mica's sisters made, if you like. Then they went on and were interviewed and talked about quite a few things with Justin. Now, so before I showed this video tonight, because it's such a long video, I didn't want to show it without asking his permission. So I did contact Justin, and Justin has given me his permission. So thank you so much, Justin. And if you're not already subscribed to Justin, please go over to Justin's channel and give him a subscribe. It's a very good channel. Justin's a very good interviewer because he doesn't take sides and he listens. I don't know if you watched that with me, that John Paul Miller interview, you know, because he was so rude. He was hard, you know. Justin was just, you know, he was so busy reading all the chat, he didn't even really take any notice of what Justin was saying. But anyway, he did get some information out of him, and it was very telling, the information that he did get out of him. So first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who's watching at home. And hello, sorry, to all that are watching at home who don't join in the chat. I know not everybody wants to join in the chat, but now I'm going to say hello to those of you that are in the chat. Oh, when I can find it. Okay. Oops, so this is where I go dizzy, go right up to the top, because of course you've all been chatting. Hi Chumba, hi Tracy, hi 411. Yeah, I've been watching your clips. I just, as I said to you before, I just feel sorry for you having to sit through all these sermons. He's just obnoxious, isn't he? Hi Michelle. So yeah, it's early morning in New Zealand. Oh, I forgot to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. Hi, David. Did I say hi? Hi, Tracy. Oh, dearie. You can't listen, Michelle. You can't give up coffee. Well, I find it very difficult to give up coffee. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Julie. Look gothic. I used to be a goth years ago. Well, a new romantic, really, rather than a goth, probably, but a gothic new romantic years and years ago, many years ago in another life. Hi, Heather. Hi, Charlie. Charlie's having a latte and a lemon meringue. I love lemon meringue. Hi, Julie. Hi, Rio. You're not late. I've only just started, really. Just starting. Oh, don't worry. Oh. Sorry, I don't know what's... As soon as I start live, all my neighbours come out and go in the street and start talking loudly and whistling and doing whatever. I think they know. I think they must be watching my channel, and then as soon as I start doing the live, they start doing that. I need a soundproof booth. That's what I need. Okay, so let's go over to Justin's chat. Oh, first thing, I wanted to show you this because I was looking at Twitter just before I came on and just came across this tweet from another favourite YouTuber of ours, JLR. And yeah, have you seen this? This apparently is Mr. Miller walking around in a Spider-Man costume yesterday. Now, you know he loves comics, don't we? And there's pictures that we've seen of him and Mica at a comic convention type thing. Mica dressed as Wonder Woman, etc. So this is obviously a big thing for John Paul. He loves comics. But so why he was wearing a Spider-Man costume yesterday, I have no idea. If he's trying to keep a low profile, I mean, people will notice Spider-Man walking around, won't they? Look at him. He's crackers, isn't he? So you're not doing that to keep a low profile. You're doing that to stand out, aren't you, and get attention. He's a total attention seeker, this guy. Oh my God, poor Mica. Let's just watch it again. Look, he looks really sinister how he comes around the corner there. He seems to know he's being filmed. God. I mean, he's a very strange guy, this guy. Poor Mica. I mean, I'd like to say, what did she ever see in him? But she was young, wasn't she, when she met him? And unfortunately, when she died, and she decided, just before she died, she decided she wanted to be free of him. It's because then she'd grown up. So I think it'd been a couple of years they'd been sort of separating, because then she'd got into her late 20s and she was a bit more sensible, probably. Thing is, these kind of men, or women, I suppose, but young people they're predators on young people, aren't they? With malleable minds, people they can manipulate and I think that's what he must have done to Mica. But he might. I'm just thinking, you know, I think my neighbours are weird, but at least they don't prowl around in Spider-Man costumes. Just crackers, this guy. What? Why was he in a Spider-Man costume? Anyway, I'm sure he's got a good reason for it not. So, yeah, JLR said Pastor John Paul Miller was seen yesterday driving a DeLorean around the neighbourhood and then walking around in a Spider-Man costume head to toe. What is going on here? What indeed is going on here? It reminds me, it's like something out of a horror film, you know, like Friday the 13th or something. Yeah, very scary guy. Twonk. Yep, definitely, definitely. Okay, so now we're going to go over to Justin's channel. So just after John Paul did his surprise, interview with Justin, it wasn't much of an interview, not because of Justin's fault, but because John Paul practically ignored him all the way through it. But he did get some information out of him, didn't he? He got the information about the necklace. John Paul had picked up that necklace off Mica's body, really. He'd collected it, the necklace that people were saying, how did he have Mica's necklace around his neck? Well, we found out because he went to the funeral home, and the funeral home gave him her belongings because he was still her husband. It's awful, that, really, isn't it? But even though he was her estranged husband. So anyway, this is Justin is also on TikTok. I think he's got more followers on TikTok even. But he's got his YouTube channel. So go over and give him a subscribe. And he's got, he does a lot of different cases, not only Mica's, a bit like me. So he's covered Sebastian Rogers. He's covered, all the. I don't think he's covered Rachel Marin, to be honest, but most of the cases that are going on, he'll have covered. So let's have a look. So in response to John Paul's sort of shocking, I mean, it was a shock sort of interview. I think we'll see more of John Paul on social media, definitely, because you could tell he loved it. He was enjoying that, most definitely enjoying it. He was fixated on the chat, reading all the comments. That he must have been thinking, oh my God, this is brilliant, because, he's only used to doing his sermons in the church, though they have got a YouTube channel, but it was almost like he didn't realise what YouTube is all about. Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with the social media side of the church, because he did seem genuinely sort of, oh my God, wow, what's this? So you got the feeling he hadn't really, been on social media before in that sense, on YouTube in that sense of live streams. And live streams, he'll be thinking they're perfect for him, really, aren't they? He can go on and say whatever rubbish he wants. Some people will watch him, I'm sure. Anyway, so in response to that, two of Mica's sisters came on and with Justin, and this is what happened. So we're going to listen to the interview. I'm going to comment on it every now and again, but I'm going to let it play. It's quite a long interview, just to let you know. So get a cup of tea and or whatever floats your boat, because you might be some time.
Hey. Welcome back.
Hi.
You're echoing
again.
Hi, Sierra.
Hey.
I guess my question for you guys. Sorry, Justin, if I'm.
You're good.
What all did you guys see? And what's y'all's response?
We only you hopped off. Somebody live.
Robbie, I'm going to mute you real quick because I think you're echoing a little bit, just so you know.
Actually, I might fast forward it a bit because there's a bit of echoes in there. They have some sound issues for a little while. I'll just fast forward it a couple of minutes and see what happens.
I was Mica, and he yelled Mica, even though I was holding my baby and my son was with me.
Right, so that's right. So this is what happened when, I don't know if you remember one of the many videos we've watched about Mica or about John Paul and Mica. He said in one of his sermons, didn't I think it was in the memorial service, that he thought he had seen Mica, you know, and anyway, it turned out it was Mica's sister. So actually we'll go back a little bit there because she's explaining what happened. But he's just creepy. So he shouted out Mica, but she was there with her kids. He knew what he was doing. He knew that was Mica's sister. I think he's done that absolutely deliberately. He may have even followed Mica's sister to the mall. You know, I wouldn't put it past him, because of course he was following Mica everywhere.
Up on that. Robbie, you're so
Good. Can y'all hear me now?
Well, we can hear you.
I'm sorry. What? Say again.
I said we can hear you. Echo. Either one of us talk.
Oh, okay. So, ladies, I mean, there was one thing that he said, and maybe you can shed some light. He said something's coming next week. Everything will show why she passed away and who is responsible. Any idea of what he's talking about?
I mean, not without him going ahead and putting it out there, letting onto it. He's trying to hold on to it. And, you have to wait for that.
I think it is very interesting to say that. And so that is something that I would be interested in myself.
He also said, I want justice for Mica. I definitely want justice.
Which I think probably has very good meanings to our family and to him.
Have y'all had any additional, and it's ever since the last communication with, you know, since I guess the lawsuits have been filed, have you guys had any interactions with him where he's reached out to y'all?
I have not spoken or had any communication with him leading up to the day of Mica's memorial that we held at the beach, and he did his memorial for her. So no, we haven't had any contact in between us individually.
Okay.
The only contact I had with him is whenever he texted our family saying, "Good job, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah," blaming us for Mica passing away.
Yeah, so this is what a complete twonk he is. In fact, I've got to use the twonk. Total, we knew it was a twonk, but we know even more that he's a twonk, because what he did was he actually texted the family and said, "Oh, good job. You know, good job. But look what you've done to Mica." You know, he may complain that people are blaming him, but he immediately tried to blame the family. You know, imagine doing that when somebody's sister, child has passed away, especially in those circumstances. And then you really would text the family and say, "Oh, well, good job. Look what you did." Come on. I mean, he is a double, triple twonk.
And then whenever he saw me at the mall, and then he said he thought I was Mica, and he yelled Mica, even though I was holding my baby and my son was with me.
That had to be beyond devastating.
Yeah, he did that on purpose. I tell you, this man, he is a complete, he would have enjoyed that, doing that and making a big fuss and, being so dramatic and everything. And like she says, she was holding one of her children and she was with her the other child she had with her. He knew exactly that was Mica's sister. That's like a torture. You know, sometimes these serial killers, I mean, I'm not saying he's a serial killer, but who knows? I wouldn't put it past him. That's what they do, don't they? Even when they've been caught, they taunt the families of their victims. You know, they taunt them because they know that that's the only power they've got left once they're in prison or whatever. So sometimes they get, you know, actual pleasure out of taunting their victims. That's how this felt to me. It was like he was deliberately trying to taunt, you know, Mica's sister.
It was ridiculous. My son, he's 8 now. He was 7 at the time. He's like, we have to leave right now because he felt very endangered at that moment.
Do you?
So even, and their son felt threatened by him, for God's sake. Yeah, I mean, he's not a nice person, is he, this guy?
Somebody asked a question. I'm just going to find again. Somebody asked a really good question about this for you guys. Do you think that he followed you all to the mall, or do you think it was just a coincidence? That's actually a good question, I think.
To be honest, I don't know how to answer that. I don't want to. I wouldn't want to speculate that he did follow her there, just because, of course, we have to be careful with what we say
Obviously.
with court cases coming up, and then as well as defamation. I know that's something that has been in the works, so we just want to be careful with what we say.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I get that. Yeah, anything obviously that y'all don't want to answer, y'all aren't comfortable answering, that's totally.
Yeah, so it's difficult, isn't it? Because he's going to be suing them or whatever if they, you know, they've got to be careful what they say because of who knows, you know, he's going to sue him, and there's gonna be some litigation somewhere along the line with this, isn't there? I think so. It's difficult for them.
Within your right, and that will be respected. Boundaries are respected.
Thank you.
Did you take notes when he was talking about the PI putting trackers on her car and why he said that was?
I didn't. It was, yeah, I did. Yeah, it was basically for people who. Are you okay if I repeat that for people who weren't here?
Yeah, I want to make sure I heard the same thing that everyone else
said. So what I heard was that it was so if she went anywhere near a gun store, he would know about it, and that it wasn't he that did it. It was the PI that was putting the trackers there.
Yes. So my question is, if you hired a PI and they've been tracking Mica for months, which was documented and she knew, and she goes to a pawn shop where you know that they sell guns, and you're telling me somebody's tracking her and reporting to you, and if she goes to a gun store, their job is to call you, did that call get made?
One thing that I've said, I don't know if you've seen this video that.
Yeah, so because this is, you know, he put the tracking devices on her car, and he would turn up at places where she was, and his reason for doing that, according to him, was because he was worried about her mental health, and he wanted to make sure she wasn't buying a gun. And it wasn't him who put the tracking devices on the car, it was a private investigator who did it, blah, blah, de, blah, de, blah. So as Mica's sister is saying quite rightly, then when she actually did go to a shop and buy a gun, why was she not being, you know, followed there and sort of challenged as she was buying the gun or whatever? Why was that just ignored? It's just rubbish, the things that he says.
That I haven't really been able to kind of wrap my head around when you're talking about, you know, TikTok, we're not allowed to use adult words here, so we'll say self-unaliving. To me, you don't buy a SIG to do that. You guys, my understanding based on the interview that you did with your dad, you guys grew up around guns, you know guns. A SIG is not a one-time use gun. That's a protection gun.
Yeah, now I don't know anything about guns, obviously, so, but then Justin seems to know something about guns, and he's come up with this saying, well, would you, this particular gun that Mica bought, which apparently is a SIG, or SIG, means nothing to me, but apparently apparently it's not the sort of gun you would buy for a one use. You know, he makes this comment about it, but I personally don't know anything about that, but I'll bow to his better sort of judgment on that.
And they're not cheap.
I also heard, obviously there's a lot of through the grapevine, there's a lot of people talking and just, I heard this or so-and-so said this. It was relayed to me that the pawn shop employee said that she verbally told them, I'm buying this for protection. Which
So she actually said, excuse me, I think I'm going to, no, it's gone. I thought I was going to sneeze. Yeah, she actually said in the shop that she was buying it for protection. And yeah, David, you're right. There was a man just walking all around that pawn shop, just looking at something and nothing. Was he watching her? And said I just feel that John Paul, he would have wanted Mica to do it if that is indeed what happened, because it just made his life so much easier. She was complicating his life. She wanted money. She wanted a divorce. He couldn't have lived with her, knowing that she was with someone else. She's trying to start a new life. I just think this made his life so much easier that he was glad of it.
I have not spoke to him, but it would line up with what she told everyone else, is that she thought she needed a gun for protection.
Yeah, that's kind of the point that I was getting to with that. Is like, there's a lot cheaper options if you're buying something for a single use.
Mm-hmm.
A SIG is a very reliable firearm, and you're going to buy that because you need something long term that's going to be reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So the person that gave you that information about what she relayed to the shop owner, do you feel like that came from a reputable source or just from somebody?
Well, I haven't spoken to the
Yeah.
shop employee directly, so I really can't, speak to that.
Okay.
They would have to, make their
Yeah.
own post, or I'd have to be able to read the police records or anything, but we haven't seen anything, like that.
He also made a comment about him possibly believing that she might have been pregnant. Did y'all catch that part, or did you hear that part at all?
Yeah,
We did hear him mention that. None of the family believes that was a possibility at all.
Yeah, he just said that when he was being interviewed. I don't know why Justin keeps all these little funny things keep appearing on Justin's head and what have you. I presume he puts those on. I don't know. JP said that he asked for an autopsy, and the police said there was no need for an autopsy, and he said, oh, well, I wanted an autopsy because, she could have been pregnant. I wonder why he said that. Why did he say that? Very strange. But then they said to him, oh, there's no need for an autopsy. And he just went, oh, okay, and had her cremated. Whereas they did do a toxicology report. So why did they do a toxicology report if they didn't do an autopsy? It just doesn't make sense, does it? None of it makes sense. I'd like to know if they could find the person he supposedly has asked for an autopsy from. I don't know that he did ask for an autopsy.
And if that was a possibility, wouldn't he have reason to make sure there was an autopsy instead of saying he got blowed off and that they said it was not necessary? I mean, if I was married and my spouse passed away and, I thought they had a possibility of being pregnant, then obviously I'd be like, no, that's important to know. That's just me thinking logically about it.
I would agree. That makes a lot of sense. And he also made a comment about ordering a toxicology. So they did that, but not an autopsy. But
can you ladies confirm, were you told no toxicology report was ordered?
I believe that we were told the only report that was ordered was a toxicology.
Okay.
Which I did make mention to him. He told me that he was going to go to the hospital to see her on that Sunday. And I did request a full toxicology. But when we spoke to Robeson County, they told us that it was just a blood alcohol. So it then had to be requested to do a full toxicology.
Okay. And Do you have any? I know that he's expecting the results back. Are y'all supposed to get a copy of that as well, that you know of?
As far as I am aware, we were the only people that requested that.
Okay. You made it sound like
I'm
it was
not,
him.
which
He could
I
have
can't
ordered
speak
the
for
same
if
thing,
he
but
ordered
we're
it
not
or
aware
not,
of that.
but when we spoke to Robeson, they told us that the only thing that they normally do would just be a blood alcohol. And so, to the best of our knowledge at that time, when we had to make the formal request, it was only for the blood alcohol, not for.
So what she's saying there is, as far as she knows, they are the only people that have requested the toxicology. But JP definitely said in his interview with Justin that he had requested toxicology. You know, where's the truth? I mean, maybe he did and they just aren't aware of it. But I personally, it's difficult to believe anything he says, isn't it?
For full toxicology.
Something else he said on top of that was that they had discussed, and she may or may not. I based on what I understand, she shared a lot with you all. They are all very close as sisters. He said that they had discussed obviously what would happen in the event that one of them passed, and he said very much, you know, she wanted to be cremated. Do you know if that was accurate?
Mica did, I think probably all of us planned to be cremated in our passing. However, the way that her cremation took place was definitely not ideal. I mean, being told by the police over and over and over again that they can't give us any information regarding her investigation of her death, but that they have everything that they needed from her body. And again, over and over and over again, we were told, we have everything that we need from her body. We don't need anything else from her body. We believed firmly that there was an autopsy done and that there would have been a full toxicology done. I mean, we're not law enforcement officers, but just we would think that would be basic police work that would have been done.
So
And it was not. So to find out that that was not done was actually pretty heartbreaking.
so you guys are,
that every avenue was explored and that they no longer needed her remains, and that we all had to come to the agreement, if our only option is to sign this paper and get to say goodbye to her, we didn't think we had an option at that point. Either yes, we sign and we get to say goodbye to her, or which it was our parents, or no, we don't sign and then nobody gets to see her, say goodbye, you know, get any ashes or anything like that. So it was a really horrible situation to be put in, and like to the point where, I mean, our mom passed out. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I would imagine that's beyond under duress given the situation. Was there?
Oh, so their mum actually passed out with these decisions that they were having to make, but they thought an autopsy had been done because the police had told them they had everything they needed from her body. I mean, sometimes these days, you know, modern, they do a scan, don't they? You know, if they didn't do an invasive autopsy, which probably wasn't necessary, you know, they put the body in a scanner, don't they? You know, there are two. We sort of looked at this, didn't we? For another case, there are two types of autopsies. There's invasive or non-invasive, and if it was a non-invasive autopsy, probably you know, they'd taken samples, you know, or that. I mean, it just must have been an awful situation because you're having to make decisions when you're in the shock of it all as well. You know, you're making decisions that are probably not informed decisions at the time because, you know, you can't think about it logically.
Obviously, y'all have had lawyers involved here, and I know when this all happened, you're in shock. It was not expected. Was there any opportunity, because they've been separated since, formally separated since what, January or February? Is that about accurate?
I believe February was the final.
Yeah, the court docs.
Right.
They had been separated multiple times.
Yeah, that I knew too, but I think like officially, you know, legally, I'm using, you know, for a better word, like February thing. So would there have been an option for y'all? Do you know if there was an option for you guys to do some kind of injunction?
We did, as far as I'm aware, my brother did ask a sheriff or somebody. Sorry, we're trying to set this up so my sister doesn't have to hold it. I don't know if that's really gonna work.
I know, yeah, the small screen makes it difficult.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, my brother did call and request an injunction, and it was not granted.
Okay. The other thing that because obviously y'all have done a few interviews, but you're on the app, you know what's going on. You see there's a lot of rumors and stuff that flies around. I'm not going to give anything specific because there are so many, but is there anything while we have you here that you guys just want to address at all? Just, I mean, completely your choice.
Which I was trying to do interviews and things like that just to keep the story straight and make sure that information was coming directly from family and, people who actually knew her current time. But then I'd be doing interviews and they would start playing videos of Mica and they'd start playing videos of John Paul, and I almost passed out on a few of them. So I just, kind of took a step back because it was just too much.
I understand that. What happens, the thing about this whole genre of true crime, current events, especially when it comes to larger cases, is people have a tendency to forget that there's real people and real families involved in this. There have been, I can't remember what it was, but there has been something that came, I think, from this scenario that was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely just fake. But with Joe Petito was in here a little bit earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but like during his daughter's case, there were people making up things with Brian Laundrie, with Idaho 4. There are people that make up things because they don't care that there are people out there that are being.
So that Joe Petito that he was just talking about, who must have been in his chat earlier, of course, that's Gabby Petito's dad. And he's someone who sort of turned, I'm sure you all know about the Gabby Petito case. She was a young girl who was traveling with her partner, Brian, in a van, van life type experience. And she disappeared. Brian returned home alone in her van. And anyway, it turned out, of course, then Brian went missing as well. And then it turned out that he had, in fact, murdered Gabby and buried her in a national park. And the only reason Gabby's body had been found was because of YouTubers, because of social media, because, a couple with their family who were filming noticed the van in this national park, noticed its number plate was from, I think it was Florida, the same place that they came from. And so sort of slowed down because they were going to say hello. And anyway, there was nobody there. They couldn't see anybody. But when all this case blew up, they sent that video to the police, and the police went to that area where the van had been seen and searched and found Gabby Petito's body. It makes you wonder if Gabby would ever have been found if it wasn't for those van lifers or those YouTubers. Would her body have ever been found just there in the middle of a national park? Maybe eventually, because of course they can track data and stuff like that, but would have took so much longer. And then of course Brian Laundrie himself, turns out he took his own life, allegedly. Gabby's dad Joe, he has turned it into sort of brought something positive out of his daughter's death. He's started a foundation, the Gabby Petito Foundation, etc. I know he was at Crime Con, and he's sort of he gets involved in other true crime, and it's such a difficult situation, isn't it? Because sometimes people think, people who like true crime, etc., are ghouls, or TikTok ghouls and all this sort of thing. But at the end of the day, if it wouldn't have been for those TikTokers, or I'm not sure if they were TikTokers or YouTubers, Gabby wouldn't have been found. true crime community also raises awareness for cases. It's just so difficult, isn't it, treading the line between being respectful to the fact that these are real families, these are not stories, this is not a film, you know, these are real people. But also it can be used, if social media etc is used properly, it can be a good thing, raise awareness, you know, let families tell their stories, you know, their families want to talk about things. And at the end of the day, when families come on things like this, presumably it's because they've got something to say, you know, that they want the public to know. And the public can help them. I think most people are genuinely, what I don't like to see is, you know, like at the moment in the Sebastian Rogers case, when it turns into a slanging match between the parents. You know, at the end of the day, Sebastian Rogers is missing. His 15-year-old boy is missing, and it's turned into sort of attacks on Chris and Katie, or attacks on Seth. That's why I'm sort of trying to stay away from that case, because you know, even if someone's a terrible parent, you know, even if someone's a terrible parent, when their child goes missing, it's not good to sort of throw arrows at them. You know, it's like, when I say, you know, sometimes someone can be not a brilliant parent, doesn't mean they don't love their child, just because they don't act in a way that somebody else thinks they should. So yeah, I don't like all that with the Sebastian Rogers case, all the mudslinging that's going on between them, because whatever, those parents might not have been the best parents in the world. I don't know. I think it's difficult to be a fantastic parent anyway, but they don't deserve all that mudslinging until it's proven for sure that they did do something, if they did do something. Anyway, sorry, I'm having a little rant now.
Being affected by this, and so that can make it very, very difficult. And then you spend time trying to quell these rumors versus trying to spend the time that you need to try to discuss the situation and keep the momentum moving forward. So I know the pain of that.
I think one thing that we really wanted to do was to keep the focus on Mica, with so many people wanting to be involved and wanting to shed light on Mica's story. It can be a bonus, but also at the same time, it can be a little damaging, because all the information is going to one source versus the police or to the family or to anyone else that might be involved officially. And so I think that's been something that we're starting to come up to battle a little bit, which has been a little bit difficult. But I mean, again, the focus is, we want the focus to be on Mica. I mean, she went through some horrific things from, I mean, I say from her own mouth, obviously she's passed, but things that she left behind or things that she told us. And I think some of even the grotesque details of what she went through being shared has definitely been something that's been hard on the family.
I definitely want to say something about that when you have a chance, because I know what you're talking about. So I did a video on those things as well, and just being interest of transparency. And here's the thing about it. I know that it's grotesque. I know that it's deviant, might be a nice word for it. But I also think that it paints a picture of what Mica was going through. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important to the overall picture, just my opinion, no matter how difficult and how disturbing it is. Because I think that it really shows the level of what she was enduring on a daily basis.
And the thing about that I also want to, touch on is, if people are disclosing this information, like for instance, if somebody were to message you and say, hey, Mica told me about this, or I witnessed this, or so-and-so said this, that abuse should be documented and given to the proper authorities, versus just saying, oh, well, you'll stay anonymous and I'll post about it. Because if somebody can corroborate something that happened, I think it's very important that that gets to the authorities. That way it's not just sitting on TikTok, it's not just sitting on Facebook, it's actually going towards the case and like you said, showing what she did endure.
I think let me just ask you this because
I was trying to find a place to interject because I don't want to be up here long. I wanted to let you know from the chat. I don't know if it's up here, but whenever Robbie is unmuted, it echoes real bad and we can't hear anything. I was trying to let you know that in the chat, and I couldn't let you know. That's all.
Here, I'm going to leave and come back. Is it working now fine or no?
No, it's not.
All right, I'm going to leave and come back.
you might have to close the app and come back.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say to you, bro. I didn't want to take up space. To the Miller family, I'm sorry, to the Francis family, you have my condolences. You really do. But I didn't want to take up any of your space up here.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
So
It's that orange thing.
sorry, I got distracted on that for a second. But yeah, what you're talking about with people remaining anonymous. My understanding, so I'm not in this community. I actually used to have a place in Myrtle Beach, and I love the area.
It's so much better now. It's just the two of them. I don't know why those what the other people was about really. But
I had a
anyway.
place actually in Surfside for a while, and loved it. But I'm not familiar, obviously, with this portion of it. But my understanding that there's a lot of people who fear repercussions from JP, and maybe that's what's preventing them from coming forward. I'm not saying that that's a good reason, but I've heard from various people that when they speak out, they're worried, they want to stay anonymous when they do for that reason. But I think to what you said, because we have a lot of people in here watching, I'm going to go and play devil's advocate to myself here for a second and say, if you do have some information out there that can corroborate, then you can anonymously go to the authorities. And
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'll tell you what, when you know something about somebody who's intimidating, which I would imagine Mr. Miller can be very intimidating. And of course, he's got quite a lot of power in his local community, being the pastor, or he was. Don't know if he still is. So it's difficult to go to the authorities when you have to live in that community. And I'll tell you, that it is difficult because you're putting your head above the parapet. But it's right what Justin is saying. They could go, these anonymous people could go to the authorities anonymously. They don't have to be, they don't actually have to be named. I presume they can phone Crime Stoppers. They can give tips anonymously, as far as I know. So that's what they should do. Because what Mica's sisters are saying in there, right, is people should go to the authorities if they know something about the way Mica was treated. If they know, instead of going on social media with it, they should go to the authorities. And I understand that.
request to remain anonymous, and until if and when things progress forward. For what that's worth.
Something Mica faced too was people always telling her, "Well, I'll help you behind the scenes," or "I believe you, but I'm not going to come forward about it," or "Yeah, that happened to me too, but I don't want him to, backlash towards them," and that really just it hurts us because she really did try to, talk to the police, talk to her church family, talk to her real family, get help, and she did everything she was supposed to do.
Yeah, and also I've seen a lot of. I actually somebody did a FOIA request, and so they sent somebody that I work with. It's Crime Scene Collective. He often works behind the scenes. I don't know if you're familiar with. His name is Ethan, but he did a FOIA request and got like a ton of documents, some stuff that nobody's really seen yet. But it just the amount of I don't think I've ever seen this many reports filed between two people ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's. I mean, the police had to have known both of them on a first name basis.
Well, I think some of the things that are coming out as well, I mean, not necessarily that the family has seen everything. And so when people are getting that information and getting it out there, I mean, we have something set up for tips for the family as well through our lawyer as well. So if they have that info and if they can do that, I mean, we would love to get that information as well.
Robbie, you're echoing.
I'm not even
Well, I think it's unfortunately Robbie's TikTok is not wanting to play nice with him tonight. Do you for people on here, do you want to give that number out, the tip line, or?
So it's justiceformicatips@gmail.com.
So if you know anybody, I mean, there's a lot of people in here who want to say anything and you want to do a tip, you want to remain anonymous, you can do that.
Oh, it's so distracting, this guy.
Oh, you're not going to be anonymous, but if it's important and the police need to know about it, yes, the police will be the ones to reach out. It wouldn't be us, being like, I'm going to post this online, because that's not what we're looking for. We want to make sure that everything's getting to the proper authorities.
Yeah, I would venture to say that probably everything you get, very little of it do you probably share online.
Well, the thing about it is too, is we want to build the best possible case that we can. And so we don't want to share everything online, because everything that's shared online is, of course, going to be public information, and that's assisting the other side as well. And that's something that we're hoping that doesn't continue to happen, just because, I mean, obviously there are things that are going to be shared, but
it's a very difficult situation, isn't it? Because they, obviously they want publicity and they want the attention from the public, to help get justice for Mica. But when you're dealing with legal things, it's difficult to know what to leak out or what not to leak out, because the other side can use it against you.
He has a boatload of information right now coming from multiple different areas, and so it's hard too, because things that could be say our smoking gun could be now theirs, because it is being just poured out there everywhere. And again, it's information that we might not have even seen as the family.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Am I echoing again?
No, you're good.
All right.
Fixed it.
I will say this, there's a lot that the public doesn't know about this case. And I shared some things with Sierra earlier that it is kind of just, there's a lot that the public doesn't know. And you guys are right. I've got three contacts. If I find any information that's needed, the FBI immediately, I give them the direct lead investigator. But there are a lot of, I've heard some wild theories out there about this case. And I guess I'm trying to word it carefully so it doesn't give anybody any ammunition. Yeah, sorry. I'm just kind of lost at words of what we've listened to tonight. And he said some really interesting things. And it almost seemed like he was suggesting that she did not do this. It almost seemed like he was suggesting that someone is responsible for her death. I mean, am I the only one that got that, or
I mean, if you base it off of, the text message he sent our family, he blamed us immediately after he found out about her passing away. So there's no telling what he's going to say.
Yeah, I think I said that after that interview with JP, and he says, "Oh, I want justice for Mica." Remember he said that, and things are going to come out next week. We're waiting for this. What bomb is he going to drop on this poor family now? But he was definitely insinuating that it was the family's fault. I think what he's going to say is Mica never really wanted a divorce, and she was being hounded into divorcing him. He's going to come up with some crap like that, isn't he?
They are who he's going to pass the blame to, as our father said.
Why is there so much hate? I don't want to say hate, but
let's say animosity.
Yeah, why is there that animosity between your family and him?
Prior, it seems like it was prior to this. So obviously we know the reason now, but prior to this.
I think just our family personally witnessing Mica's demeanor, and personally witnessing what she told us about what was going on in her life, I think would be pretty easy to say that there could be some extreme frustration on the situation. I mean, in my personal opinion, how could you when I grew up, church, there's the congregation, the elders, and then the pastor. And so as far as like the way that the accountability should go for the church, and so there should be much more standards is what I'm trying to say, I guess, in my personal opinion and my personal beliefs for a pastor, and the things that have been done.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fake pastor, isn't he? So, thing is, when Justin was asking, or the other guy was asking, why was there so much animosity between him and Mica's family? Well, exactly what she says. They'll have watched, Mica sort of going under, like from this guy, over a long period of time. And, what happened in the end was just the culmination of it, it was just the culmination of it all. So, yeah, that's exactly what will have happened. They'll have seen, and then of course she left him on several occasions. And what happens when people leave is then they tell their family all about what this person's done to them, and then they end up going back to them, and then it's like awkward, isn't it, for the family? Because it's difficult then to be nice to someone when you've heard all about the awful things that they've done to your loved one.
I understand that everyone falls short of the glory of God, and that's understandable. But when you put yourself at the standard that is supposed to be held high, and you repeatedly continue to fall below that grace, I think that maybe there's something that should have been looked at, that you should not have been leading a congregation.
I've heard multiple reports from people who knew Mica that when she left him in February, she started to become her old self again. Is that what you guys saw?
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree with that. Every time they had distance between the two of them, she did very well.
I want to ask you something that's a little bit different, because I know how heavy.
So that'll have been the pattern, won't it? That when she's broken away from him, she started living a life and getting better and this, that, and the other, and then he'll have come and love bombed her like he was doing, offering to buy her a car and this, that, and the other, and got round her, inveigled himself in there again. And then it'll have all gone back to square one, and they've probably seen that cycle happen quite a few times.
This is, and constantly talking about this kind of stuff is, would y'all want to share like a nice memory that y'all have, something that like makes you smile when you think
I
back?
was just about to ask that. Yeah.
If you don't want to, if it's personal, that's okay. You don't have to, but I just feel with all this heavy stuff, it might be, a nice little bit of a relief.
I mean, a couple months ago, Mica came here to visit. She was visiting here very often to see me and my children. And we went and did a donut fundraiser for Krispy Kreme donuts. And we went to all the car dealerships, and her and my son went in there and told everybody about Africa and all the children she met. And she raised so much money for them. And that was definitely one of her passions, was she wanted to go back there and be able to spend time with them and grow that ministry. So that was really nice for my son and her to have that bonding experience.
That's beautiful.
It's funny you said something about your kids. When Mica stayed with me, I believe it was the beginning of last year, they had another time where they were separated. And so she came to stay with me in Kansas for a couple of months. And so it was actually a really amazing experience, because my kids got to develop that really good relationship with her, and she loved working out and being fit. And so she ended up getting a membership there near where I live. And my son absolutely enjoyed that moment with her, because they would go and work out and have this fun time, and my daughter would go, and that was just something that they cherished because they got that individual time with her. Unfortunately, a lot of the time from what we saw when they were together, we didn't get to see a lot of our sister, and so it was very nice in that time that we did get to have with her.
Yeah, what's that? What domestic abusers do? They isolate people from their family. Sounds like that's exactly what he did to Mica. So in the times when they got to spend with Mica, sounds like Mica was really good with the kids. It's a shame Mica didn't have any children, though. Thank God that would have tied her to Mr. Miller forever, I suppose. But I wonder if it would have made a difference to Mica if she would have had children. For her to have a child to concentrate on, and it might have made her stronger in not going back to him. These things happen. She had somebody else, something else to think about. But anyway, we'll never know. But it sounds like she was such a lovely auntie. She was good with children, and that's good that they've got some nice memories to think of. But that's just such typical behaviour, what he did, isolating her from her family. That's what these people do, these coercive controllers. They're even jealous of your own family. They don't want anybody coming in between you and them, and having any influence on your life, because they want the full absolute control, don't they? And that he's just he's a what's the word? He's just like he's like a poster boy for coercive control, isn't he?
Can I ask about Kansas? I've spoken with members of the worship team that she was a part of at the church. Did you guys go to the same church?
So when Mica was with me, we visited a couple different churches, and then she ended up finding that church by herself. She did meet a couple people and started to try to get involved. And of course, her heart was people and God. And so she really tried to immerse herself there. And so I did not go with her to that church. I was going somewhere else. And like I said, we visited multiple just because I wanted her to find somewhere that she felt comfortable as well. And it was very different for her because her previous church, of course, was Solid Rock and her husband was the pastor. And so seeing her.
Yeah, because she'd been trying to find another church to worship at, hadn't she? Because worship was important to Mica. We could see that from the videos we've seen of her. Her faith was ultra important to her. So, she felt she couldn't go to Solid Rock, well, because he'd was trying to poison all the bloody congregation against her. He was emailing people, pretending they were emails from Mica. He was doing some awful things. So she was trying to find another church to worship at. And he wouldn't have that, would he? Could you imagine? He'd be like, God, there's no way you're going to worship at another church apart from mine. He's a complete control freak. He's got to be in control, and he tried to be totally in control of Mica. That's why he picks young girls.
Her reach out and branch was super great.
Can you talk about? I've been told that she just up and left. That she just up and just texted everyone one day and said she's headed back to Myrtle Beach. Is that true? I've never reported on that, but is that what happened, or what happened when she came back?
So whenever she left Kansas, essentially, from what I understood, he had sent her away, and so he was doing something different in their relationship and time frame, and she was, upset, but also trying to start over. And then he said, "Hey,
If this is basically how it is, if this is our opinion, if he said jump, she said how high."
For a long time.
And it was not always, ideal for us to see that, but when you are in that situation for 15 years. I mean,
Yeah, that must be so difficult for them. I mean, it's happened, you know, I know with my sisters, I'm sure you all know somebody where maybe it's happened to someone in your family, so one of your friends, could be a man or a woman, leaves their partner, can't take any more, leaves their partner, comes and tells you all about all the terrible things the partner's done to them. You hate them then because you find out all these things that maybe you didn't know before. You know, he or she has done this, done that, said this, made me feel bad, made me do this, blah, 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 blah. And then, so you're in the hate mode towards a partner, and then they go back to them. It's very difficult then. How then do you, at family parties or get-togethers or whatever, how do you even speak to that person? Because you now know the horrible things that they've done to your loved one. And I expect that's what they experienced.
that's something hard to break.
It's hard to really, when you're an outsider watching that, it's really hard to do anything about it. You know, it has to, unfortunately, the decision has to come from them, and you can advise and you can help and you can be there. But I think the average to leave a situation like that is 7 times.
I've heard that statistic as well. But
That's
I think
awful.
at that time frame, something that I always wanted to do for her, and I tried to still do for her after death, was just in Kansas, I was able to be far enough away from the situation to almost be a safe haven. And so that's what I tried to be for her while she came, and tried to be for her also after she returned.
I don't want to speculate about Friday. You know, John Paul was served on Thursday. Did any of you speak with Mike on Friday? I've seen text messages from her on Friday. She seemed like she was in a great mood. Did any of you speak with her on Friday, and how was she?
I'm not sure if I spoke with her Thursday or Friday, but we were talking about how she was building playlists of like music that she liked, outside of just praise and worship music. She was just building, like, if I'm in the car on the way to work, what fun music can I listen to? And she was just, you know, we were just talking about her next playlist that she was building for her day-to-day schedule.
And I didn't speak to her that Thursday or Friday, but my last conversation with her was quite lengthy, and she was just, I mean, excited for how things were moving. She was excited to try to feel like she was starting to gain control over her life again. Their conversation before that, she had just told me about how scared she was all of the time, and how she just felt like she couldn't get a job. She couldn't do anything because her surroundings were so controlled. She felt like if she got a job and got out there, that there would be harassment there. She was afraid to leave her apartment. She was so terrified. And so to have that last conversation with her where she was having hope, was amazing.
So you and I don't, you can, you know,
So that's interesting, isn't it? So the last conversation a sister had with her, she was being hopeful. You know, she was, and they do look absolutely blasted with grief, don't they? They really do, those two sisters. But yeah, talking to her, she's got hope. What happened on that Saturday? Oh, you know, we need to know or find out. Maybe they know. I don't know. What were the messages? Why did Mica go and do that? If she did go and do it when she was being hopeful, she was feeling better. What changed her mind that day? She was on her way to work, it seemed like, and then suddenly she ends up dead in the river. You know, what happened to, did she just literally suddenly just decide to do that? I don't believe that.
this is just a question. Do you believe Micah feared for her life?
100%. She told multiple people, not even just family, other people as well.
Okay, so that's the first I've heard that, because I've only heard that from you guys. So you're saying there are multiple people out there that can vouch for Micah feared her husband.
I think the fact that she wouldn't purchase the firearm kind of says that for protection.
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you, ladies. I don't, you know, I know we just began talking the other day, but I've always maintained that Mica did this herself, but in my opinion, she was pushed to do so. But with the comments of Charlotte, Micah's best friend, you now have to really question what really happened that day.
Which we did ask when we did have our sit down with the police department in North Carolina, and they gave us the timeline that was given to everyone else. We asked them if they checked for trackers on her vehicle, and they said no.
Okay, so what did you ask them that day, or did you ask them that when they called you up for that
We
meeting?
asked them in person when we met them in North Carolina, did they check for trackers on her vehicle, and they said no.
I think it was a Tuesday.
No, you had actually asked a bunch of questions for that, and the answer to everything was no. I saw the interview that you all did.
It was
Mike.
mostly no. North Carolina doesn't.
Nothing. Yeah.
Can you ladies confirm, is there a different version of the 911 call?
I can't say that there is a different version. I'm not really sure what that would, I guess, mean.
Well, your father has said there's screaming. In it.
I think what he was referring to is that the 911 call, I think that was initially released, was a shorter version than the full version. And I think that
That's what I'm asking. So you're saying the one that was released is not the full version? That's your belief?
Our belief initially, yes, is the one that was played to us when we went to get the timeline was shorter than the one that we were given when we left.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you know, where's the full 911 call? You know, if anyone should get, I mean, they don't have to release it publicly, I suppose, but I don't know if they do or not, but the family shouldn't have it.
Why would they do? I guess I'm just not understanding why. And I'm going off of interviews your father has done. They had no answer for you in regards of the 2 casings that were found at the scene?
No. Which I believe it's been put out there as public knowledge because I've heard it a couple times, but 2 casings in a live round.
Yes.
Yeah, so 2 casings were found there in a live round. So that has not been explained.
Yes, that is very public.
And respectfully, Robbie, I think that, you know, with what we know is probably all we're gonna. I would imagine that anything else that's out there, they probably aren't able to tell us because it could jeopardize any investigation or court case.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's why, you know, I'm simply wanting to confirm what the father has said. If there is indeed a different version of the 911 call, I'm just kind of questioning why the police would not release that version.
Which I think I've heard probably both versions out there now. The shorter clip, like I said, that was initially released with the timeline, but I've heard several other versions of, I think, the longer call, which people are saying with audio enhancement, there's other voices in the background. And so that's something I think that's been put out there.
I think we listened to that, didn't we? There was definitely another voice in the background. What that was, whether it was just some sort of technical thing, but there definitely was another voice in the background.
On TikTok that we looked at last evening. And I think that everything that just keeps coming out, it gives a lot of call for speculation. I don't think that Mica's story at all is very cut and dry. It's not black and white. There's a whole lot of gray, and sifting through that gray is kind of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, this is a very, you know, in South Carolina, and so one easy comparison is the Murdochs. You know, it's somebody, you know, in their little area, they had a lot of power, and the more you learned about them, the more layers you found. And I feel like the amount of layers surrounding Mica and JP and Solid Rock and all of that, it is in line with that, maybe even more so, especially once you get to the point where you bring in you know, JP's father and that whole offshoot of things, there is nothing about this that's black and white.
Mm-mm.
Which I've seen the information come out about Pakistan,
Yeah.
and Mr. Miller Sr., I guess. But I don't really have a whole lot to comment on that. Again, I just want to be very careful that I don't cause defamation. And so everything I guess I say would be in my personal opinion. But there are a lot of things that have come out about, well, a few of the Millers, I guess, actually. And I would say domestic violence.
Yeah, domestic violence runs through that family, doesn't it? The father, JP's father, JP, and his son, one of his sons. And that was interesting, just in likening it to the Murdoch case. That's another rabbit hole thing, isn't it? And it's right that once you look at the case at face value, it looked like that somebody just turned up and shot what's the name? The wife, I can't remember her name, but shot her and the son, and at first it didn't look like Alex Murdoch had anything to do with it. But then when you start peeling away all the layers, it just got, crazier and crazier. And then he, paid someone to shoot him or appear that he'd been shot. And then it turns out there's people people dead, going back years, connected with that family. The housekeeper, the girl that was killed on the boat, that was driven by Alex's son, who was one of the ones he murdered along with the mother. And then there was also a young lad called Stephen who was found dead by the side of the road. There it seems like the Murdochs might have had a hand in his death as well. So, sometimes you start peeling, it's like like an onion. You start peeling off the layers, it never ends.
I know, I can't think of his name right now, but John Paul's son had the domestic violence.
Yes, that was January and November.
Yeah, I think Logan is his name or
Logan,
something like that.
thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the younger son, and I didn't want to bring his name in here and try
Yeah.
to say anything that he did when it wasn't him. But again, we want to get the correct information out there, but we want to be very careful in how we do it.
Absolutely.
Because again, we want to be able to build the best case that we can, but also not give the other side too much information on what we have. And so that's something that, again, like I said, we're battling, but it's also hard because we do want, people like Mr. Harvey and people like you, Justin, to be able to continue Mica's story and keep telling it and keeping the pressure going, because that's something also that's gonna, just keep her story going, which really her story was she loved people and wanted to live life to the fullest and spread God's love to everyone. And so that's something that's been super hard because we haven't been able to do that just yet.
Yeah.
And for the record, my platform will always be available. The whole purpose of it is to amplify voices for those who need it or want it. The other thing that I want to say before I forget, and he was in here a little while, I don't think he's in here right now, because no, he's not. I have a feeling based on talking to y'all and what I've seen that once you guys do get to whatever point where you're never going to be happy, you're never going to be satisfied, but where you get to a point where you're accepting of whatever closure you all come to, you're probably going to want to continue this on with a fight in her name. And so I'd like to put you in touch with, do you know who Joe Petito is?
I do not. I feel like I've heard the name before, but
his daughter was Gabby Petito, and she was killed under domestic violence a few years ago out in Wyoming. Her boyfriend, fiance, fled back to Florida, and his remains with him. And it was when his daughter passed away from that, him and his family created the Gabby Petito Foundation. And when I tell you that they are literally changing laws and legislation in states on the way that they handle domestic violence, he's changed it, I believe, in Florida, New York, and Utah so far. And he's also working from they're working on the national side. And I feel like he would be a very good contact for y'all to have. Plus, unfortunately, you all are now part of a very shitty club that he can also understand and be a voice of guidance because he's been there. And he's also had to fight people who fought him every step of the way. So, Sierra, I believe I have your number, so I'll shoot you that information so you have it, and I'll see. And all that. He's CrimeCon's in Nashville, which is where I live, and he's here, so I'm actually going to see him tomorrow.
Yeah, because Joseph Petito, he had to fight Brian Laundrie's family, the Dirty Laundries, wasn't it? Because they, you know, we still don't know really, you know, did Brian's mother and Brian Laundrie turned up back at their house without his girlfriend, driving her van, and Gabby lived with him there at that house. It wasn't as if they didn't know Gabby very well and they'd only met her a couple of times. She lived there with him. He turned up there with the van and no Gabby, and now it's still not clear, is it, whether he told them that he'd killed Gabby or not. You know, we just don't know. I mean, for certain. And of course, the problem with Brian having taken his own life is there'll be no court case. There'll be no, you know, finding out exactly what happened. You know, that they can't, you know, Joe Petito and his family, they can't find out all those details because Brian took him away somewhere where he didn't have to talk about it. And his family, those, they're like the JP Miller, if you like, of the Gabby Petito case, because they just, you know, sort of just made it even more difficult for the Petito family. So yeah, and Justin's saying he would put them into. He must be in touch with Joseph Petito. He's saying he'll put them in touch, and you know, that I think he will give them a lot of good advice because the Petito family, they were so dignified throughout it all, weren't they?
Tomorrow, so I'll run this by him as well.
Okay. Well, and one thing I think that's great too, that I mean, Mike has been able to touch people all over the world with her story, and so I think that it's also a great way to, I mean, like you said, touch on the legislation and touch on mental health and again bring awareness to domestic violence, because domestic violence does not always, it's not always a closed fist and broken bones. Those can heal, but I think the domestic violence, when it's mental and emotional, those are scars that very much take time or never heal.
100% the scars you can't see. No, I totally.
Exactly. It's the mental torture is worse. It is worse than the physical torture because it's a drip, 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 you know, peck, 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 just gradually eroding somebody from the, you know, mentally.
Totally agree with you on that. But that's kind of the point of what, you know, they've tried to do. He's Gabby's whole family. They just were like, well, you know, this happened. We want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And for what it's worth to y'all, I don't know if you can take any solace in this, but right after everything happened, I had somebody on whose husband was part of Solid Rock and I guess closer to JP's inner circle. And she started becoming, basically within a year and a half of being in that church, she felt that her husband did a complete, basically 180. And Mica's story gave her the strength to leave her husband. And I've had at least 3 other people reach out to me privately saying the same thing. So I don't know if you can take any solace in that, but know that her story does resonate with people enough to that point.
Yeah, and I hope that they are, you know, doing that in a safe way and that they have support.
Ladies, share your GoFundMe, how people can help and help you guys, because it's an expensive process, no matter which way we look at it. So.
Oh, this is what I was saying at the start of the video. So they're going to talk about the GoFundMe, which is the, you know, because as I was saying to you, I Googled their GoFundMe, but there's quite a few different ones. And I only wanted to, so it sounds like they're going to talk about the real one.
How can people reach out to you guys and help you guys?
I believe it's called Justice for Mica. Our sister Alna's boyfriend Ryan set it up. So it should be like as Ryan Williams. And it's
Ryan Williams, yeah.
Justice for Mica.
So it should be www.justiceformica.com, correct? And then they have the GoFundMe on there.
Yeah, I believe the GoFundMe is also shared on there.
There was another website, I believe, with the GoFundMe. Dr. Dobson had actually set up another one for that as well, just in case people needed or couldn't find the justice for Mica. Because I know that with different things going on out there too, sometimes some of the justice for Mica gets swapped, or you don't know who is actually doing what. And so the www.justiceformica is us.
But
Can
all
I
of
ask?
do
Oh,
sorry,
I'm
Rob, real quick, Rob, while
I
we're
was just
while you're talking, hold on. I'll give it to you, I promise. I'm gonna go ahead while Robbie's talking, and I'm gonna put the GoFundMe on my webpage, which is justontiktok.com, for anybody who wants to go donate it. Link is in my bio, but I'll tell y'all when it's up. Sorry, Robbie, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how are y'all's parents doing?
I mean, as well as I guess anybody would expect. I think our whole family's struggling pretty hard.
I can't imagine, like, first of all, I can't imagine the rage. What I know, you guys knew a lot. Is there anything you guys didn't know that has come out since this? And how did you just contain like that rage inside? I just don't understand how you guys are going through this.
I know, like, a few days after Micah passed away, whenever I was in Myrtle, I opened my phone and I saw on Facebook, like, this is just an example, a post that Kyler had made in the very beginning, and it was detailing some abuse that just kind of set our whole family off pretty bad. And I called my brother and I read the post, and he was like, whoa, like, he kind of was like, I didn't even know about that. Like, it really hurt him to hear it. So me just reading it off the cuff, because I didn't realize, like, I was just reading it because I was so upset about it. And I reached out to her personally and I just said, hey, like, that is abuse that, in my opinion, either came from the abuser or somebody who witnessed it or was involved in it. And I said, please make sure that if you're advocating for the victims, like, take that down and give it to the authorities, not put it on Facebook. So instances like that where we're all trying to, put the story out there, get justice and show what happened, but also having to be so careful about what's getting put out there, because just in that quick instance, like my brother finding out about something because I see it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe this is on the internet. But like everybody's saying, I mean, some of the information is going to get out. Some of it is going to be horrible.
And luckily that part was redacted.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like we see it and then we have to either say, hey, get it to the cops, or if people send us something and we're like, whoa, I can't believe like that you were told that, make sure you give it to the police, that kind of stuff. I mean, it is hard.
I don't think I can give you a good answer for that, because to be quite honest, sometimes it feels like I'm a moment away from just losing it all emotionally, just because, I mean, having this tragedy happen to your sister, and for all my siblings, they're all my baby siblings because I'm the oldest. And so also you're the oldest, you're part caretaker. And so having that big sense of responsibility, and then hearing that your sibling went through all of this, and a lot of it was alone, or the feeling of being alone. I don't think that there's quite a way for me to deal with all that rage and pain right now. So I think right now I'm just trying to use it to fuel her fight and to continue that for her, with the lawyers and trying to press for the GoFundMe. Thank you guys. Or also trying to just also keep her story going for her missions. She wanted to do missions so much and planned to continue doing missions. And so that's also something that I'm trying to help fuel me to keep going, and taking my love for her to try to kind of outweigh the rage, because quite frankly, I don't think that's something that we will be able to deal with for a while.
Real quick, for anybody who's interested in donating to their GoFundMe, because legal processes are incredibly expensive. I did just post it on my webpage. It's the very top link when you scroll down to the link section. It is their site. It is confirmed, obviously, by them. So if you would like to make a donation and help, that is where you can do so.
Well, you guys are incredible. Like, y'all really are. I'm just, I think about you guys all the time. So I really, I'm so sorry y'all have to go through this. So anything we can do to help y'all, just let us know.
We appreciate that sincerely from the entire family. We appreciate that. It's definitely, we're sorry too, because it's not something that we would wish on anyone, and especially the tragic way that her life.
Right, I'm just going to fast forward it a little bit. Oh, maybe I can speed it up a little bit, maybe, because it is quite a long video. Obviously, please, if you want to see the whole thing in its entirety, go onto Justin's channel to watch it. But I'm just going to fast forward it a little bit, actually. I think to here.
Again, was a bright light and just wanted to share love. And so I think that keeping the focus on that, and I think that unified, we're all on Mica's side here. And so, I mean, I implore everyone on Facebook and everyone on TikTok and Instagram and wherever her story is being shared, let's please keep the focus on her. We want to, in the future, hopefully help other people that are like her, because there are so many. Mica was not just a single voice lost. There are so many other people out there that are just like her. And even like you said, Justin, you've heard from people that are saying, hey, Mica's story helped me get the courage to get out. And Kyler, I know you said that you've heard stories like that. I've had people message me and say that. And so I really, like I said, just want to keep the focus on Mica and keep that going, because that's ultimately what this is all about.
I feel like her story, kind of dovetailing off of what you just said, I feel like, you know, there's like 4 different things that this brings to light. One is mental health awareness, obviously. You know, as of right now, the official police answer is that she took her own life. So it brings awareness to suicide awareness. It brings attention to domestic violence. It brings attention to a term that I use is toxic Christianity, or you know, toxic religion, you know, abuse in the church, things like that. So there's a lot of different things that.
Yeah, it's right, isn't it? So it's the only good thing that comes out of these cases, how it brings attention onto all those things. And you know, a lot of people, obviously, they like going to church, and a lot of churches are probably lovely places, but churches like this and pastors like this, they have to be shown up for what they are. And also, of course, like he says, it's suicide awareness, it's mental health awareness, it's coercive control awareness, domestic violence awareness. So Mica, you know, I hope as she's looking down on us, she will be happy that she has had this positive influence, not only there in Myrtle Beach, but you know, all over the world. We're watching this. There's people in our little community that are watching this from all over the world. So you know, she has touched the world in all those ways, and created a discourse, a conversation about these things
that her life is bringing attention to, or her, death at this point is bringing attention to. And, you know, if it saves one life, then that takes away,
exactly,
you know, her death ever being in vain. And I feel like with the people who have now had the courage to leave their abuser, leave bad situations because of her, you know, obviously we don't know what could have been, but it's very likely she could have saved their lives.
And I truly hope that's the case. And anyone that is watching or hearing or watches later, please let us know those things. We're fighting for Mica, but we also want to hear that she helped you fight. We definitely, all of it means.
That's interesting because, yeah, those stories will be a comfort to them, because if they've got to take something good out of this. So if people have got any of those stories, they should contact Mica's family, and tell them, look, hearing Mica's story helped me, etc., because that will give them some comfort. Because that's what all Mica wanted to do, wasn't it? We saw she wanted to bring light and happiness to the world. She wanted to help people. So at least that's something. That's a legacy that she's given.
Means something. Everything has significance.
100%.
Mhm.
And I would imagine, I don't want to speak for you all, obviously, but I would imagine that might, give you guys a little bit of solace while you're fighting through all this, to hear some people's, stories that are like that she inspired them. I think that if you are one of those people, you can go to the Justice for Mica website, and I think there's a way to contact you from that, right? And shoot, I'll go look real quick.
I mean, even if not, all of us are very
Yeah,
open for people to reach out to us.
Yeah, you got a contact on here.
Yeah, I've literally spoke to a lady today that has said it's brought back for her, a lady named Christy and someone else, and she had just called me. Kyler wanted her to speak to me, and I mean, she brought a lot of encouragement to what all's going on.
And if you can write those stories down and send them to us, like I said, I mean, that's great. Justin, thank you for putting the website up and the GoFundMe. I mean, that's definitely what's going to help continue to fight for Mica. And then, like I said, fight for others too. There are so many people like her. And I know one thing you mentioned, you said you called it toxic Christianity, which is something that's so sad, because God's love truly is amazing. And that's all Mica wanted to share, and to bring it to every aspect of the world. I mean, at her memorial, the gentleman that spoke on her behalf, he even said one time that she was working at the coffee shop and ran out and was like praying for someone's husband, was like, "Are you a Christian?" And she was like, "I'm Catholic." She's like, "That's good enough. Let's do this." And let's definitely pray. I mean, where two or more come together, God's in the midst of them. And that's definitely what Mica believed. And so, I mean, I want her again to be an inspiration to everyone. But also we've got to keep fighting. So, I mean, again, like I said, we do appreciate putting the website up and keeping things going, because sharing her story also brings attention to that and then helps us continue the fight. But those little stories of encouragement also definitely help us with the fight as well, because if she inspired you, I mean, she inspires us every day. That's why we're all here, because she inspired us, and we want to be able to continue her story.
I agree. And one of the things that I was going to bring up is I spoke to a fellow coworker who told me that Mike always came in very happy every day. And at one point, she took a Polaroid picture of herself and went back there to the calendar, even though they didn't have an employee of the month. And she took a picture of herself off a Polaroid and put up that she wrote on it, employee of the month, to make everybody laugh and smile. And that just brought a lot to me of.
Just as we're listening to them talking now, I'm going to put up the Justice for Mica website and the GoFundMe in a community post, so you'll see that. So it'll be there, unless I can. That's how I'm going to do it.
This person that spoke to her and was encouragement toward her. She said that was mainly the focus of a lot of it, is she just like bringing happiness to people.
It really was. Something that I mentioned too, she was funny. I mean, she did a really mean Jim Carrey impression.
She loved her little Polaroids, so she would print them out and give them to like everybody, because she had a little like instant print where you could take pictures on your phone and print them out.
That's true.
So like all of us have little Polaroids all over the place from her, because that was.
And that's what she did. And hearing from that female, it showed me like her personality of always trying to make people happy, and even in bad situations, whether you work in a restaurant or anywhere else, it truly brought light to me of where she was at. And she was on to bigger and better things. And this is a very tragic circumstance. And obviously I would love to get with you guys later on, and I have a lot that I would like to share with you guys.
Well, and even that story just goes to show her character. I mean, look
Absolutely.
at what we're all hearing about her life and what she was going through in those moments, and she still just wanted to bring joy to everyone else.
And she's got a lot of people that are backing her, and that want to hear her story, who are invested in her story. And again, I really feel like it's, she's touching a lot of lives at this point, and it's unfortunate that it is taking an event like this to make that happen. But I do feel in my heart that she is saving lives.
Well, and like you said, it makes her story not in vain.
It makes her story not in vain. And I want to go back to what you said about, toxic Christianity. And another term is weaponized Christianity, where, you use God and somebody's faith in order to weaponize it against them. Personally speaking, I feel like a lot of Christianity has become very toxic. And so I say, when people ask what I am, I'm like, oh, I'm a follower of Jesus, because it's hard to say Christianity now with some of the stuff that you keep seeing in there. And I feel like that's what people need to get back to. And it seems like everything I've seen, read, and even hear from you tonight about Micah is that she truly was somebody who followed the values of Christ, and not just, a blanket Christianity term.
And that's one thing she struggled with very hard with, going through this divorce and trying to speak to lawyers and trying to talk to the family about stuff that she was suffering through in silence. Was certain people, and those people, after she passed away, got on Facebook and, gotten arguments and stuff for being basically two-faced. She was being told by a lot of people, put up with it, stay there, be a good wife, or don't tell that, because that's not the Christian thing to do. You shouldn't talk about something sinful or expose people. The Bible's all about grace and covering, and that's not true. I mean, if you're going through something and you're suffering, like, you need to speak out about it. You should not feel like you're trapped in a situation just because you believe in Jesus, just because you are, a Christian or whatever. That's one thing that was really put on her, and I don't want anybody else to suffer in silence because they're being told the same thing.
Well, true Christianity is about community, which means you don't have to suffer. I mean, that's the part of it, is that you don't have to suffer in silence, because it's supposed to be about community and being there for each other. Love thy neighbor,
So I just want to let you know, I've put on a community post the website, and also the website that they were talking about, and the GoFundMe to help for the legal costs of trying to, hold JP Miller to account.
Well, I think that's one thing that Micah was actually starting to learn in the end, because I know that she mentioned it to me. I thought she mentioned it in a video. I'm not quite sure, but she was just learning that Christianity is not just the building; it's the people. And so that's why she was so people-based, and wanted, like I said, just to spread God's word across the world, through missions or through. I mean, her trip to Kenya truly changed her and sparked and ignited this fire within her, to just want to serve people through the love of God. And so I think that that's something that people need to remember too, is it's not just a building, it's the people. And so when you find someone that's genuine like that, please don't allow the wolf in sheep clothing to deter you from the love that God has to offer, because Micah's story is proof that she just really believed in God and spreading the love of him. And that's something that,
yeah, and it's right. I mean, if you have a belief, you shouldn't be put off by people like Pastor John Paul. But it always just amazes me how people like him get away with it, because to me it's just completely transparent. As soon as when you watch someone who's genuine, the difference, don't you? I do anyway, just feel it. Watching him, just his ridiculous sermons, that would put me off religion. It wouldn't, put me off God. It wouldn't. They're just awful. I've just, the ones I've watched were bad enough, but I just can't even watch anymore. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward again a little bit because, as I say, it's quite a long video. But if you want to see the whole thing, go on to Justin's YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a few people saying that the link isn't working for the GoFundMe, but
I'm testing it.
also
It's working fine.
it's weird. It's in my bio as well. I don't know if you guys want to try that too, but
Well, we also do have a second website set up.
I'm not sure who that woman is.
Like I said, Dr. Dobson also helped maneuver that. Let me grab that website for you as well. It is micamillerofficial.com.
Yeah, and also for our business, you also have justiceformica.com. You can also donate there. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it. But here's the thing: help whatever way you can. Like they said, if you can't donate, if you can't share it, if you can or struggle doing that, or have nobody to share it to, say a prayer.
Say a prayer, share it. I know Sierra had also posted, if the GoFundMe is not working, you're more than welcome to look on Sierra's Facebook. There was also her Venmo as well.
well, I would prefer everything to go through.
We prefer the GoFundMe, but
that way.
I think there were other avenues too if there's
consolidated.
nothing working.
Yeah.
And you're more than welcome to reach out to us as well.
Yeah, on the website, one day I'll do a video and we'll go through the website. I've not seen that before. I just had a look at it. It's very interesting. And there are ways you can actually contact the family directly on the website. But I'll do a separate video on that another night.
Whatever method, because I know we're on social medias as well.
I'm the one. If you could repeat the Venmo name again, sorry.
I'm sorry?
I said, they want to know if you could repeat the Venmo name again.
Sorry, we're moving things around here for a moment.
Yeah, I don't want
No,
anything.
you're good. You're good.
While we're talking.
What was your...
Oh, they don't want Venmo. They said, okay, sorry. I was trying to.
Yeah, I would prefer
the link on my page. So, okay.
It was initially we didn't have a GoFundMe because I'll be honest, I did not realize, how many people would be wanting to help the family. But it was created by our sister's boyfriend. And people, did want to help us in fighting legally and, supporting the family to all get together for the memorial and stuff like that. So that's when it was created. Were those other ones that were fake or like not connected to you? Did they get taken down? I'm not sure. Okay. I don't think that our family has been, trying to troll the internet and keep up with everything because there has been a lot.
You have bigger fish to fry.
Fake information and fake GoFundMes and fake, hottest tips and all this and that.
Also, what is wrong with people that go putting up fake GoFundMes or fake website? Have people really got nothing better to do than to sort of, cash in that way in these tragedies, like by actually setting up a GoFundMe that when they're nothing to do with the family or anything? What? These people should be tracked down and prosecuted. If it's not official, it should be tracked down and prosecuted. That surely is a crime. To set up a false GoFundMe. It's got to be a crime, hasn't it? It's probably bloody John Paul doing it. That the guy, you wouldn't put anything past him. He's probably set up a few GoFundMes. He'll be trying to make some money out of this one way or another.
You guys have bigger fish to fry than to, worry about all the things on here. That's for us to do. And you guys, out of curiosity, did you have any concept that this would blow up the way that it did?
I don't think that.
I think Mica did. I think Mica was afraid of this because she always said she did not want to, tarnish the way people saw Christianity and, church in general, or, she didn't want her church family to suffer through any of this. So I think she knew that it was going to be a lot bigger than we anticipated. Just her story and the stuff that she suffered through.
Yeah, it's crazy how some of this blew up. For what it's worth, and I'm sure you obviously I say I'm sure, but I hope that you recognize it. There's nobody that I've seen that's blaming her or blaming Christianity or anybody that's really been associated with her. You know, the blame really is being pushed on, you know, JP. And I think that one of the other sayings at the beginning, I think Robbie kind of said something similar to it, but I'll say it in a different way, which is, you know, even if she did, even if the official answer turns out after everything's said and done that she took her own life, and I'm not saying that that's the case, but even if that is, then you focus, okay, well, stop focusing on who pulled the trigger, but why the trigger was pulled. You know, like what was pushed there was, you know, why did she feel that was her only way out, if that's the case? So I feel like I get where she's at and her concerns and that, but you know, I don't think it's going the way that she thought that it might go. I think it's going very differently in her favor. And if anything, I think that it's showing, you know, even going through trial and tribulation and turmoil, she still held true to her faith. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because not a lot of people can go through what she's gone through and come out the other side that way.
No, definitely not. Which I even posted about that on Facebook a while back, you know, before she passed away. Whenever I was at church and I, you know, received information of some just drama that was happening. And I just couldn't believe how she was handling herself very, you know, respectfully and, you know, not just freaking out and, you know, telling everybody all of her business, because it's like she was suffering in silence without suffering in silence. And she was trying to get out and tell enough so that people knew that something was happening, but still being very careful so that she didn't, you know, end up with a defamation lawsuit or a cease and desist, or like you said, people are afraid to come forward with evidence, and people weren't backing her up the way that they told her they would if she, you know, tried to leave. So, I mean, I commend her for how she handled herself.
And my understanding too is that she, I mean, obviously, we don't need to know what you guys have. That's nobody's business but yours and your attorneys. But it seems like she did a very, no matter, she obviously anticipated something happening. I say obviously, maybe not, but she left, from what I understand, a very, very good paper trail.
She was very big on paper trails, definitely. And that's one thing. I know my dad has said it a few times, but me and my dad are both prior service. And one thing we both kept telling her was everything has to be a paper trail. Like that's how you document things, is you document it. You can't say, oh, this happened, and then when they say, oh, we'll provide proof, oh, well, let me hurry up and run and make a 5-year document. Like, no, that's something that takes time, and it shows a lot of
100%.
It takes a lot more, it holds more weight when it is documented, when it is written down, when it is, hey, look, I didn't just make this up, this was at this time on this date with this person, kind of thing.
Yeah, you would have to, if you were making something like that up, you would really have to have a lot of foresight, and I would almost say be a sociopath to be able to, you know, fake something like that for years and years and years. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that anybody's going to look at that and really call it into question. I mean, you know, we've seen pieces of things that have come out, heard pieces of things, you know, from you guys that have come out, and I think it's one of those situations where it's just the tip of the iceberg as to what y'all have, which means that there's probably a lot more there. So I think that that's good that she, you know, to me, that's not somebody with mental illness for what that's worth.
Well, we appreciate that.
You know, I also, and I don't know if y'all see my videos on this too. One thing that I've also made very clear to point out, or made sure that I point out every time I can, is that they got married in 17 and she didn't have mental illness until 2017. I find that very coincidental.
Yeah, so she didn't have any mental illness until after she married him. Oh, how strange, how strange. You know, oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward it a little bit more. It's not far from the end now, but it is obviously a very long video. I may be missing out some important bits, but as I say, the full video can be found on Justin's channel.
Popped up and I'm like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
I kind of felt like I was in a parallel universe. Like, is this really happening? Like,
you texted me that.
I did text you that. Real? Yeah.
Yeah, and then y'all came. Then I saw you guys. And I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble now.
No. I mean, it was surreal. It was uncomfortable to watch.
Welcome to. I feel like I've been in a parallel universe for a while on a few cases. I think they're talking there about the interview with John Paul. It was very strange, when he suddenly decided to. Well, we watched it, didn't we? I mean, he was more interested in reading the chat. He was completely ignoring Justin's questions, as if Justin wasn't even there. And he was acting like it was some sort of revelation to him, as if he'd never seen a live stream before. It's really struck me as strange for someone like him.
But like you said, you want to give people the opportunity to talk. And in my opinion, what we saw was, I mean, you see, hey, should I turn off the comments? No, I love it. I love seeing them. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Justin offered to turn off the comments. And that JP's going, no, it's like that he was there for all the comments. He didn't even seem to mind the horrible comments, And do you remember he said, someone had said, oh, he's loving the attention. He said, loving the attention, I never go anywhere. I'm like a hermit. And then the next day he was on the beach with Mica's friend. Oh, and then yesterday he was out in his Spider-Man suit. Doesn't love the attention though. No, my God. It's just like, it is like a parallel universe, because it's like when somebody, imagine what Mica had to put up with. It's like when somebody's telling you black is white, it's black, but he's saying it's white. And in the end, you end up agreeing that it's white because they peck away at you so much. You've just got to go along with it because it's too distressing to try and go against it.
I mean, it is what it is.
I understand. Believe me. Yeah, he wanted the comments and he wanted to talk. And for anybody saying that they want to see it, it's uploaded on YouTube for anybody who wants to see it. But I appreciate you.
And the thing is, will he go back on Justin's channel? I mean, Justin, you can tell, he's very sympathetic towards the girls. And I think he took Justin aback, going on there. And for the interview, it was a complete surprise. Will he go back on there? But somebody, we mentioned when we were watching that video, somebody had said in his comments, probably more than one person, why are you giving him a platform? But I'd give him a platform. Of course you would, because you want him to speak. You want him to speak and find out, what is he going to say? Because when he speaks, he reveals his true colours. So of course you're going to give him a platform, because, anything that he runs his mouth off, and says, he did give information, like about the necklace, he cleared that up. We want the information that we don't know. Same with Mica's family, I'm sure. If they can find it, there are things that he's never going to tell Mica's family. They're not going to be able to ring him up and say, oh, look, what happened here? Or where did that necklace come from? Or where did that happen? That isn't going to happen. So if they can find things out through a platform like Justin's, then good. Yeah, give him a platform.
You guys coming on and talking, because I know it's not difficult. I know that it's probably a conversation every single day where you are constantly having similar conversations. And I know that that's emotionally draining. So I appreciate your time as well and coming on and talking.
Well, definitely. Thank you everyone for all the support. Like I said, whether it's sharing the GoFundMe, posting the website, just even those little things. I mean, we sincerely appreciate them. The idea for the Amazon for the kids, if that's how people want to help too. I mean, it's just, we appreciate everything that everyone is doing. And so again, thank you.
You guys have a long road ahead of you in whatever way, people can support you. I know people want to do it. And here's the thing about whether it's the GoFundMe, whether it's an Amazon wish list, people who want to support are going to do it. People who don't won't. It's, so it just gives them another option to help. But
yeah, at the end of the day, any of those things, people have a choice whether they help people out or not, so it's not like mugging someone and taking money off them or whatever. You're literally giving people a choice. I'm going to stop sharing this now. Giving people a choice. Sometimes people want to help, with the Samantha Murphy search. You know, all those people turned up, volunteered to search, because people like to get involved and like to help. The Sebastian Rogers searches, etc. You know, people want to help. So, and if they can't physically help, like if they're miles away from, you know, the place, and like in this particular case, there's no one to search for, unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it. Mica, at least they know where she is. They're not, you know, she's not lost in that sense, where they're looking to find out what's happened to her. Sadly, they know what's happened to her, but that's better than not knowing, isn't it? But, you know, they need money to make this legal challenge against JP. He seems to have plenty of money. I wonder how he's getting on with his tithing now, because of course he asks for money through his church. I reckon he'll be, you know, on social media soon asking for money. I don't know. You know, obviously he said there's more to come. There's things to come out this week. I wonder what's coming out. I'm just going to go to actually again to Justin's channel, because I think he just did an update on John Paul. But I don't know if it was, let me just see. Might just be, I don't know. Well, I don't know basically. So let's have a look. Justin on TikTok. YouTube. Justin on TikTok, YouTube. Why is it not? It's not coming up now, and I've just literally had the channel up. Why is it coming up with Justin Bieber now? We don't really want to watch Justin Bieber, do we? No, it's not coming up now. Bloody typical. Oh, how strange. Can't find it now. Oh, anyway, we'll catch up another day, because it's been quite, we've been on quite a long time already. But there'll be more coming out. Oh, there it is. There it is. Hang on. Let me just see if I can. Oh, well, he's live at the moment, so I think I'm going to go over and watch that live. I can't stream a live. That is definitely not allowed on YouTube. But I'm going to go over and watch his live and see what's going on. But listen, thank you all of you that he's for being here with me, and hello to Replay Crew, or goodbye to Replay Crew, because I'm going now. But thank you so much, and justice for Mica. We'll keep talking about Mica, and I'll keep reporting back on any developments, etc. And yeah, but I'll see you tomorrow, definitely. I'm back tomorrow night with a live. I'll probably be back sometime in the morning. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Remember to live and love carefully and wisely. Night, night. I'm going to put my little, there you go. Bye.